Okay, class, here's the first speech. Are you being overcharged?
In this speech, the speaker uses an organizational pattern called the motivated sequence. There are 5 steps in the sequence: attention, need, satisfaction, visualization, and action. See if you can spot each of the steps.
Could you use an extra $350 every year? Well, $350 is the amount that the Federal Trade Commission estimates that each adult consumer loses due to mistakes made by stores. These mistakes occur at checkout counters at grocery stores, drugstores, and a variety of other retail establishments. Most stores use scanners to scan barcodes, and if the scanned price is more than the posted price in the store, then the consumer is overcharged. Claudia Farrell of the FTC gives some examples. Recently at an office supply store in Florida, a consumer bought a surge protector. She paid $53.99. Well, the advertised price was $17.99. That's a $36 overcharge. At an auto parts store in Seattle, a customer bought a set of wrenches and overpaid by $20. At a grocery store in Michigan, a man bought a bottle of wine and was overcharged $4. Can we put a stop to these overcharges? Yes. Today I urge you to help put a stop to these overcharges and report violations. Let's take a look at why we need to take action. Overcharging is frequent. It happens every day in the United States. According to the New York Times, Americans lose an estimated $1 billion to $2.5 billion every year due to errors in scanner pricing. The Chicago Sun-Times reports that Chicago's Department of Consumer Services did an investigation and found that 78% of the drugstores in the city overcharged customers with price scanning errors. The Associated Press reports that in a recent one-year period, the Arizona Department of Weights and Measures investigated 1,335 cases, and in 1/4 of the cases, the scanned prices were higher than those posted in the stores. Steve Meissner, a spokesperson for the Arizona agency, said that the problem doesn't lie with the technology of the scanners. If there's a mistake, don't blame the scanners. Blame the database. The employees of the store are supposed to keep the database up to date with correct prices. But if the prices are incorrect in the database, then there will be mistakes at the checkout counter. Now, what should you do about this problem? You should report the stores that overcharge you. Some people think that you should just ask for a refund. You should get a refund, of course. But you should also go one step further. You should file a complaint. If you go to this website, consumeraction.gov, you can see a list of local and state agencies. You can send them an email or make a phone call. And if an agency gets a lot of complaints about a particular store, they can investigate and issue a fine. Let's take a look at some examples of agencies in action. The Arizona Department of Weights and Measures assessed penalties totaling $100,000 to stores in a 12-month period. According to the Progressive Grocer magazine, authorities in Wisconsin fined the Roundy's supermarkets $44,000 for checkout scanner violations in the state. And in California, the nation's second largest grocery store chain, Albertsons, was slapped with a fine of $1.85 million for scanner overcharges in the California stores. When businesses are assessed a fine, it's often a wake-up call that prompts them to clean up their act. Kathleen Thuner, a commissioner for San Diego County, California, recently assessed a fine of $540,000 against a sports equipment chain for repeated violations. The fine cost the company to take immediate steps to correct the scanning procedures. Thuner gives credit to citizens who complain. She says her office relies heavily on consumers, and she urges every consumer to report overcharges. Let's look at the details of a particular case. It will let you visualize how taking action can bring rewards for you and your fellow consumers. According to the Los Angeles Daily News, 3 years ago, LA County started a scanner overcharge reduction program. And throughout the program, they noticed a lot of complaints coming about a Home Depot store in Lancaster. So they sent in an undercover inspector who purchased a 3-gallon bug sprayer. They charged him $34.97 for it. Well, the advertised price was $12.15. That's almost 3 times the advertised price. They issued a fine of $4,000, and they also made them put signs in their windows admitting that they were caught overcharging customers. The fine and the embarrassing signs made the store change their procedures. LA County officials said that in the first 3 years of the program, 1,500 stores were fined. This caused an immediate decline in the number of overcharge cases, and the consumers saved an estimated tens of millions of dollars a year. When companies clean up their act, we consumers no longer lose money. So, I urge you to all take action. Look closely at your receipts and take note if you've been overcharged. Report the overcharge immediately to a local or state consumer protection agency. Now let's review what we've covered. Overcharging because of price scanning errors is widespread throughout the U.S. When citizens report the overcharges, they encourage government agencies to investigate, and then they can issue a fine. If the stores are fined, then this is a wake-up call, and the stores change their act. Ultimately, you, the consumer, will benefit by not being overcharged in the future. At the beginning of my speech, I asked if you could use an extra $350. Well, next time you're overcharged, think of that $350 and issue a complaint. Are there any questions or comments?
Okay, and here are the critical thinking questions. Another question that I might add is she certainly had some ums and ahs and a few places where, she paused maybe a little too long or something. Do you see these as being really detrimental to the effectiveness of her speech? In other words, does a good speaker have to have absolute perfection? Or can we have some slip ups like she had and still be considered a good speaker? So these are just some things that you can use as you are answering the question or in the discussion as you respond to your fellow classmates.